Princess Marie-Louise of Schleswig-Holstein was one of Queen Victoria's many grandchildren, but royal blood didn't guarantee a fairy tale life. Trapped in a disastrous marriage, haunted by scandal and depression, she nearly disappeared from history. Yet she defied expectations to become one of Britain's most beloved royals, as well as the Princess of Nowhere. So how did she fall so far and rise again? And why is she called this? Join me to find out. Princess Marie-Louise was born on the 12th of August 1872 in England to parents Prince Christian and Princess Helena of Schleswig-Holstein. Princess Helena was the third daughter of Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom, and as such, the family spent a great deal of time around her. In fact, the family lived in the United Kingdom at Victoria's side, where Marie-Louise and her three older siblings learned German, history and literature from their father and various tutors. As an adult, Marie-Louise appeared in many photographs looking highly regal, adorned in precious jewellery and intricate dresses, but in childhood, Queen Victoria seems to have thought otherwise. The Queen would often watch over her grandchildren when Helena and Christian were away, and on one occasion, Helena received a telegram from her mother which read, "Children very well, but poor little Louise very ugly." Apparently, Victoria stood by her words throughout her long life, but the two had a good relationship, nonetheless. As a young woman, Marie-Louise developed a passion for learning about the world she lived in, and mustered a great desire to travel. Many of her evenings would be spent deep within the pages of history books, and fortunately for her, her royal status meant that she could often see for herself the locations which she read about. In 1890, while attending a cousin's wedding in Berlin, she would meet none other than Prince Aribert of Anhalt, a dashing cavalry officer who caught first her attention, and then her heart. Just a few weeks after they first met, Aribert and Marie-Louise would become engaged, and Queen Victoria herself even approved of the relationship, thankfully for her granddaughter. The couple would be wed at Windsor on the 6th of July 1891. Marie-Louise was just shy of her 19th birthday, while Aribert had just turned 25. After a brief honeymoon travelling around Europe, they settled in Dessau, Germany, but soon moved to Berlin when Aribert was stationed there as a cavalry officer. Married life, however, was not everything it was supposed to be for young Marie-Louise. Princess Marie-Louise, by all accounts, struggled with her new life in Germany. The etiquette and protocols she was expected to abide by as a princess was extremely strict, and she often found herself, understandably, making mistakes. Her life revolved around adhering to practices and timings that would have been complex even for the most seasoned of royal family members. She would have needed to know things like the exact timings and wording to coordinate morning greetings sent from her footman to her in-laws' footman. She also needed to practice proper mealtime etiquette, right down to knowing who to address and at which points in the meal. On one occasion, Marie-Louise reportedly brought a punching bag and a pair of boxing gloves back from a trip to England, and when she started to use them in her room, Aribert's family scolded her for such unacceptable, unprincessly behaviour. Moreover, life with Aribert wasn't what Marie-Louise had hoped it would be. She felt unwanted, as though she were a burden to her husband. As a result, she sank into a period of depression and began to suffer a series of serious illnesses, including bronchitis and pneumonia. She grew alarmingly thin and frail, possibly indicating anorexia, and her condition became a source of gossip among her in-laws. When she was well enough, Marie-Louise would often embark upon excursions to other countries to escape the tension at home, but something soon happened that she could not solve with a simple trip away. In 1900, 9 years into their marriage, Aribert was discovered to be having an affair with a man. Although the details remain uncertain, some sources suggest that his lover was one of his servants, and that Aribert was bisexual or homosexual. It is also believed by some that the marriage had never been consummated. This wasn't the kind of news Aribert's family wanted to be made public, and so they attempted to cover it up as best they could. Of course, Marie-Louise was devastated, and through tears of fury and betrayal, she fled her former home in Germany, with the intention of starting a new life in North America. For a while, she travelled around the United States, adopting the alias Countess von Münstenberg. Aribert's father had pointed the finger at Marie-Louise for the marriage's breakdown, but despite this, he eventually sent her a telegram, fiercely ordering her to return to his son. Of course, she refused to do so, but where could she turn instead? Could she continue to live her life in disguise? Fortunately, just 1 hour later, Queen Victoria had received the news and immediately sent Marie-Louise a telegram of her own. "Tell my granddaughter to come home to me," it read, and so that is exactly what she did. Marie-Louise's arrival in England was met with a letter, sent by none other than Aribert himself. She later recounted this in her memoir, stating, "He had written that life with me as his companion was intolerable, and that he had therefore requested his father to exercise his sovereign right and declare the marriage null and void." This is exactly what happened. Aribert's father attempted to have the marriage annulled, but seeing as the wedding had taken place in England, German laws could not apply. Marie-Louise then employed a divorce lawyer to help her settle this once and for all, but Aribert had set up the court case to his liking before it had even begun. Aribert attempted to defame Marie-Louise with a whole host of disparaging claims. He told his lawyer that she had been a drunk and a drug addict who revelled in taking opium. As the rumours began to swell through the English newspapers, Marie-Louise is said to have been pushed to the brink. The mounting speculation caused her immense distress, and she turned desperately to her family for support, finding refuge with her parents. Her father soon took decisive action, travelling with her to Germany to pursue a legal and civil annulment of the marriage. Almost immediately, he was met with fierce resistance from Aribert's family. Undeterred, he reportedly threatened to bring the true reason for Marie-Louise's separation before the German Federal Council. That threat alone proved enough. By December 1900, the marriage was swiftly annulled. Despite the fact that on paper, her marriage was null and void, Marie-Louise would never truly be free of Aribert's clutches. According to the principles of the Church of England, she regarded her marriage vows as binding, and so for the rest of her life, never attempted to form any romantic relationships or remarry. King Edward VII, Marie-Louise's uncle, is reported to have summed up her fate, stating, "Poor Marie-Louise, she came back just as she went." Following the messy divorce, Marie-Louise moved into her own house in South Kensington, London. The strain of the court proceedings had taken a severe toll on her mental health. Married life had proved painfully different from anything Marie-Louise had imagined, leaving a vast and unsettling void where her future once seemed certain. One striking illustration of her fragile state came in a chilling incident she later recounted. Marie-Louise claimed to have been visited by her brother, Christian Victor, an army officer who had been killed in Pretoria during the Boer War more than a year earlier. According to her account, Christian appeared to only check on her before calmly walking downstairs and warning her not to follow. Whether Marie-Louise truly believed she had seen her brother's ghost, or whether this episode was a manifestation of mounting stress and grief, remains an unsettling question. Before long, Marie-Louise's mother Helena prompted her to pursue one of her interests, hospital and charity work. She spent time raising money for hospitals, founded many support organisations for them, and could often be seen visiting hospital patients. This seemed to be good for her. Not only did she improve her public image after the disastrous court case with Aribert, but supporting others helped her to take her mind off of her worries. She soon built up a wider network of friends and connections, but soon the 1910s were looming, and with them, the Great War. During the First World War, Marie-Louise moved into Kensington Palace with her Aunt Beatrice, comforting her when her son Prince Maurice was killed in the First Battle of Ypres in October of 1914. By day, the princess set up a hospital in Bermondsey, running it herself throughout the course of the war. Here, she spent time alongside the victims of those who had been shot, gassed and shelled, helping them to recover and support their own mental health problems when they arose. The Great War soon brought about a series of changes to the royal family, however. By the time the conflict started, Queen Victoria and the succeeding Edward VII had passed away, and King George V sat on the throne. By all accounts, he had a good relationship with Marie Louise, and George was glad that his cousin had escaped her difficult marriage to rejoin the family in England. George also knew that, as a result of the ongoing war, anti-German attitudes in Britain were beginning to thrive. Knowing that the current royal family name, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, was causing unrest among the general public as a result, he decided to change it. Taking a strictly English-sounding name from the iconic British castle, George V adopted the royal name Windsor. He wanted to sever ties with his German roots and show solidarity with the British people in times of war. Thus, from now on, the British royal family were banned from using their German titles. For Marie Louise, whose only designation was Princess of Schleswig-Holstein, this decree effectively erased her identity on paper, turning her into the so-called Princess of Nowhere, a label that would cling to her ever after. Sadly, no replacement title was ever granted, and as a result, despite being a princess, it was almost as though she no longer belonged to any royal family at all. Unlike other royals who were reassigned new peerages, Marie Louise was left in limbo, perhaps because she had no heirs and no political utility in a new creation. For the rest of her life, she was formally styled simply Her Highness Princess Marie Louise. Despite her newfound identity as the Princess of Nowhere, Louise lived a prosperous and full life. She was liked by the general public, seeing as her selfless charity work continued for almost 4 decades to come. She opened and extended the size of hospitals across her career, and spent a considerable amount of time raising money to benefit healthcare providers across the country. King's College Hospital, the War Memorial Hospital, the United Nations Association, Guide Dogs for the Blind, and the Wayfarers Trust were just a few examples of the many non-profits she supported throughout her life. She also spent time visiting the general public across Britain, and attempted to close the gap between the royal family and the working man. She visited coal mines, rode the bus, and even spent some time living in a flat. They might seem like small gestures now, but throughout most of the early 20th century, these were not actions associated with royals. Though a relatively obscure member of her family, Marie Louise brought a relatable, human face to the British royals that existed in a much lesser form before her. In her spare time, she was a prolific artist, particularly fond of watercolours, and she also had a strong passion for music and dancing. In England, she was happy to be surrounded by a family who, by all accounts, nurtured these passions and allowed her to express herself. She was able to pursue her passions of travelling the world after splitting up with Aribert, and no doubt found that unmarried life was the path for her. Marie Louise was approaching old age by the time World War II broke out, and she recounted in her memoirs her interest in watching the RAF bombers fly over Ascot to head into battle. Despite the fact that her home was nearly destroyed in the war, Marie Louise made it through the conflict, and continued her philanthropic work well into the final years of her life. Her doctors even warned her to let up a little, but she was having none of it. Charitable work became one of her biggest passions, and she enjoyed her busy schedule. After years of royal service and reflection, Marie Louise finally published her memoirs, My Memories of 6 Reigns, in 1956, a vivid and revealing chronicle of a life spent at the heart of and around the monarchy. Just months later, on the 8th of December 1956, her life came to a peaceful end at her London home at the age of 84. At the time of her death, she was one of only 6 surviving grandchildren of Queen Victoria, and was the oldest living royal family member. Today, she is buried in Windsor Castle's Great Park, next to her beloved sister, who remained one of her closest friends throughout her long life. Despite her philanthropic endeavours, her estate was valued at nearly £110,000, which is around £2.5 million today. Princess Marie Louise showed the world that royals could pursue anything they wished in life, and established a new path outside the routine and regulation of a princess's lifestyle. Despite being a princess of nowhere, She boasted one of the richest and most decorated lifestyles in contemporary royal history, whose story spanned 2 world wars, 6 monarchs, and a century of change. Thank you so much everyone for watching this video on Princess Marie-Louise of Schleswig-Holstein. I hope you found it interesting. Let me know what you thought of her life down below in the comments, and if you have any suggestions, also let me know down below in the comments. I hope you guys are subscribed and have notifications turned on to get all my videos as soon as I upload them. Anyway, that's all from me, so I'll see all of you in the next Forgotten Life. Thanks.